Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to dive into our special Q&A where I'll be answering some of your burning questions. So if you've ever wondered about me or my journey, my lifestyle changes, or how to navigate these changes, stick around because this video is for you. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like your circumstances are holding you back? Well, I'm here to share my story and how I turned challenges into opportunities. Let's get into it. One of the questions that I received was about my disabilities and how they've shaped my life. So I faced, back in the 90s, I was having some chest pain. I was going to school full time. I had 3 small children. I was very active in my church. And I started having headaches all the time, which is weird because I never had headaches. So I'd go to the doctor, and then 4 years later, they tell me I was having anxiety and they just couldn't diagnose the headaches. But back then I was in my 20s. I was very young, very thin back then, and they just didn't know what it was. But going undiagnosed, they finally did diagnose me in 1999, very fluky after, I ended up in the ER with a doctor who just happened to be studying what I had, and I ended up being diagnosed with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And then during a test, I VFib, so they had to shock me back to life. So I ended up having easily inducible VFib. But I had gone 4 years undiagnosed, so by the time they caught it, I had heart damage so severe that my heart was only operating at 30%. And then the autoimmune side of that was the chronic headaches, the chronic pain, the chronic fatigue. And I remember going to class and then I'd go home and I'd sleep the whole day and I couldn't figure out why I was so tired. So all of that together was kind of where my health troubles began. And that definitely influenced a big part of my life. It changed my life because I was such an active mom. I was, like I said, active in my church. I was going to school full time. I had plans. I had big plans. I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be a pediatrician and focus on preventative medicine. And I studied nutrition, and those are the things. And it all stopped. Interestingly enough, I was in the hospital studying for finals, going to heart surgery, and the doctors looked at me and said, "We don't think you understand what's going on here and what we're trying to tell you when we mean cut back." And I remember sobbing, just sobbing. I am not giving up on school. It took everything. Years of just vomiting and being sick during finals week because I had to have a 4.0 because I had a family. For me, it's not like I could up and apply to medical school all across the country. It was just, that was it. So getting into the University of Minnesota, it was my one shot. And so giving up on that, it was horrifying. It was devastating. It was the worst thing that I thought I was ever going to have to go through. And the weirdest thing is that I was pretty much going through it kind of alone. So it was like an emotional, traumatic going through it, but yet I was so sick and weak. So that was kind of what was going on in my life. My body was giving up, my emotions were giving up, my dreams were giving up, and then I wasn't able to take care of my kids either, which I was trying to, and then I was partly in denial thinking, oh, this is just, it's once I heal, I'm going to get better. So that was all kind of what was going on in a nutshell, which is why I'm so passionate about never going back there again. So even though I went through all of that, and it was years, I'm not kidding, it was years of agony and pain and depression and horrible medications, that doctors put me on. I just want you to know that through all of that, instead of letting these challenges define me, I've learned to adapt. I've learned to find ways to overcome that and to find new ways to thrive. I no longer live in bed. I'm no longer desolate and depressed. You know, do I have days? Well, absolutely. But I'm a different person. That is kind of what happened. I mean, I had a pacemaker defibrillator. It was so much. I don't have a pacemaker defibrillator anymore. My body rejected it. So, I had a blood clotting disorder. I no longer have that anymore. So I was so sick. And there's a lot of those things that I no longer have anymore. And I really do attribute that to the way I live my life and the way I eat now. My body has healed. It is still healing. I still do have an autoimmune disorder that I deal with, but I had so many things wrong with me that were life-threatening. I had to be on blood thinners all the time. I no longer need any of that. So I just want you to know that there is hope out there. And yeah, so thank you for that question. That's so good. I could talk on that forever. And I know I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and like talk about, they had me on opioids back then and I was set against it. And there's such a big story to all of that. And I try to touch into it in different parts of different videos. So go back to those old ones. But yes, we're on the good side of it. And that's why I really am big on food as medicine. Anyway, thanks for that question. That was good. I'll say, now I got another question about people trying to buy organic foods, or, I've been really blessed and fortunate to live in a farming community, and I have farmers all around me where I can buy raw dairy, and I can buy a half a cow, and I can buy a half a pig and a lamb and all of those things, and farmers, with produce that I'm not able to grow because I try to have a green thumb, but I'm not the best at it, but I try, right? So this question was about living in a city and struggling to access affordable organic foods. So I do totally get it. The cost of food prices are super high right now. And honestly, to be truthful with you, it's probably just going to keep getting worse. Especially when you're trying to make healthier choices, it can be overwhelming. So how can we buy organic on a budget? You can try to look into local co-ops. Sometimes those are better than not. You can check into that. Sometimes there's local CSA groups like you might be able to find. I don't know where you live, but if you're like in a town that might have a CSA farm group, you could check and see if you have one locally. Farmers market while it's seasonal. That's an option. They're usually much more reasonably priced. You can look for bulk stores, even like Costco and Sam's Club. They have good organic options. I even like Aldi. I know it's not bulk, but I find better prices at Aldi. And As Your Standard is another bulk one that I really do like to. I usually put links in my descriptions for Azure Standard. Sometimes Misfits online you can buy. I try to buy things on sale, in season and on sale. So that's always you can try to grow your own. So even when I lived in an apartment, I used pots. Like I would go to the local bakery or deli and I would ask them for their 3 or 5 gallon buckets, because that's what they use. They have frosting, so they're food grade. Frosting or pickles or whatever, and they throw them out. So when we get them, we're recycling for them. And you bring them home, you just drill holes in the bottom, throw some potting soil in there, grow a salad. You can grow cucumbers, you can grow lettuce and tomatoes. There you go, just right there, you have saved a ton of money. And so I used to do it just right on my little patio out there. So you can try that. A couple things you could even grow in the house, like herbs. So those are the things you can try. Good question. Now we're going to dive into some specific questions. First up, we have, how do I get picky eaters, picky kids to eat more vegetables and not just mac and cheese. Well, that's a good one. I had one of those. My middle son loved cereal and mac and cheese. So great question. One thing that I do, and I do this for myself just to add more nutrients to my food, but I either dehydrate or freeze dry celery, kale, spinach. I'll use like even the celery tops or the stems of the broccoli. You can dry them and then powder them up. And then I do a zucchini a lot. When we grow abundance of zucchini, we call it Z powder. I replace like a quarter cup of the flour for baking with that. I throw it into spaghetti sauces, soups, egg dishes, and that is a great way to sneak veggies in everywhere. That's like probably the easiest thing to do because they don't see it, they don't, taste it. Another thing I used to do is I used to make a roast. I think actually this recipe was published in a cookbook years and years when I was raising my kids. I would make a pork roast, and then the leftovers of the pork roast in the slow cooker. And I love cabbage, so I put pork, it's like pork and cabbage. I put pork roast and I put cabbage in the slow cooker. Well, then the leftovers I would shred up and add barbecue sauce. It would be like barbecue pork. You could probably do with beef too. And then I would take the cabbage and I would also kind of shred it up. They had no idea what was in there. So the cabbage took on the barbecue flavor and it looked like the meat. So you just sneak them in there. You could grate carrots into spaghetti sauce or like a sloppy joe mix, tacos. You just grate the veggies in there and hide them. So that's how I do it. Here's another question. How do you stay inspired and motivated to create fresh videos? Well, that's a good question. That's not hard for me because I am super passionate, as you can tell, about nutrition. Ooh, I got something in my eye here. And the impact that it's had on my life. So I always can talk about that. Food is like a universal topic and we all need to eat. So I guess that's super easy to come up with content for me. I hope it interests you. It seems to be so far. So that's kind of where I get my inspiration. I'm excited that I can still share where my passion is because like I said, it was devastating when I gave up that dream of school and it wasn't really just, I wanted to be a doctor. It was more, I really want to educate people on preventative medicine. And for me, like it was clear in my life what food as medicine and holistic living really does. So yeah, so that's kind of where I get it from. I just live it. Another great question. These are kind of fun ones. Do you have any hidden talents or skills? I don't know how hidden it is, but my kids will laugh because they'll say, Mom sings karaoke, but I can sing. I used to lead worship at our church years ago. So I sing a little bit. I taught myself to play the ukulele. Mary, she retired from our work. We used to teach ourselves to play the ukulele. We worked from home and we would play in between calls and stuff. So we'd have little ukulele sessions. It was kind of fun. So yeah, anyway, we'll go with that. So yeah. So now the question came in about a defining moment who shaped who I am today. Well, clearly, who shaped who I am today, the biggest one would be my illness, being diagnosed. That has changed my entire life and who I am. It changed who I was as a mom. It changed who I was going to be as a career. It changed the way I live my life. So that would be the number one defining moment. I'm going to take it a little step further because I want to move it over to a positive place. So like I said, I was pretty much sick and in bed for over 10 years. very depressed. I had been put on a lot of medication. Those bad medications made me really depressed. Like you can't get out of that fog. It's horrible. I had a doctor because I knew I wanted to, and I got myself off the medications. But even then, I was still sick. I didn't have the knowledge or the education about the food and the things. And she said to me one day, this is the defining moment that took me over to the other side. She said, find your purpose. Find your purpose, and your life will change and you will be able to live again. And you know what? It's so true. And even though at that moment I didn't really know what my full purpose was, I started by going to pool therapy. I started by just stopping processed foods. I knew my purpose. My purpose was always to be a mom. It was always with children. So it was just, I needed to get better so I could be a mom and a grandma to those kids. So that was the one thing that totally redefined my entire life. Started out with the illness and then finding a purpose. So if you struggle, find that purpose. Just find a purpose. Find a purpose. Just a purpose. And then go from there. I promise, and I don't make promises, I promise that will work. Oh, now I saved this one for last because this was the hardest question. I spent so long on this question, and you will find out why. Oh gosh, this is so hard because there's so many answers to this question. But I followed the directions. Someone asked me to name my top three herbs and why I love them. I mean, 10, I really would be happy with top 10. 5 would even be better, but 3 was super hard. So how I went through it is I went through all these different herbs that I love, and I tried to pick 3 that, now you all know there are some herbs that I go over a lot in my playlist. So I tried to, there's one that's just everybody needs to have and everybody likes. So I did do that. But then I tried to pick a couple other ones that I don't talk all the time about that have great benefits. So that's kind of how I chose these 3, because I want people to know. So obviously I talk about turmeric and ginger all the time. I have videos on just those 2. Even though those are high, like tied with these, I did not add these in there. So these are the ones that I went over, okay? So the first one I'm going to go over is garlic, because garlic is a staple. I mean, it's just, everybody has garlic, and everybody should have garlic. Everybody should be eating garlic, unless you're allergic to it some reason. I don't know why, but you know, garlic is so important. It's so important that it's used in almost every cuisine in the world. Garlic's been used for well over 5,000 years. It's also known that the Egyptians fed garlic to workers as they built the pyramids. The powerful herb was also given to Olympic athletes in Greece. Also, it was used in many cultures to increase production of labor workers. That tells us that garlic gives us some sort of strength, right? So we want to add garlic. I love garlic. You watch me cook. You see it calls for a tablespoon. It calls for a teaspoon. I put like 3 tablespoons. So yeah. So what are some of the health benefits of garlic? It's a powerful cancer fighter. Inflammation, it fights inflammation, which protects against numerous conditions. It's a detoxification. It's a detoxifier. It can treat a toothache and an earache. I know some people use garlic oil drops for earache. It repels mosquitoes. I have heard that if you eat lots of garlics and onions, the mosquitoes don't like you. That one hasn't been the best one for me, but you know, hey, I still eat lots of garlic. I don't know. So I think mosquitoes are just attracted to some people, and unfortunately I'm one of those. Great for a cough. I like to do the infused honey and garlic. That's always a good staple to have. It's a home remedy for stuffy nose and congestion. Garlic, number 1. Oh, it's still so hard to only do 3. But we're gonna go to sage, because sage is a really good one. It's also one that most people have in their kitchens, right? Sage has been known for its powerful healing properties. It's an evergreen shrub with woody stem and blue or purple flowers. They are commonly found in the Mediterranean. According to research, sage has lots of resemblance to rosemary. In fact, they're even considered sister herbs. Sage has been used as medicine for many centuries. It was traditionally used for the treatment of a snake bite, protection from evil, boosting female fertility, and many others. Today, modern science and technology had discovered that sage is more powerful than once thought and offers a lot of health benefits, such as cognitive boost. It stimulates brain functions and it increases the ability to recall and memory retention. So that's a good one. If you guys don't have good memory retention, add some more sage. It's also an anti-inflammatory, it has antioxidants, and it helps eliminate cognitive disorders such as Alzheimer's or dementia, which you know is something that I'm dealing with in my family. So this was an important one that I clearly wanted to look over and bring up. It also strengthens the immune system. It has vitamin K, which vitamin K is crucial in developing bone density and ensuring the integrity of our bones as we age. Now, osteoporosis and osteoarthritis is something that I've dealt with for years, so this was really important to me as well. It's also great for treatment of skin conditions such as eczema, psoriasis and acne, diabetes management, and it also assists in digestion. So sage is a really powerful one to use. Add it to your foods, using it as herbal remedies in my top 3. And then the last one I did want to discuss because it was a sister one and it's really good is rosemary. So rosemary is a herb native in the Mediterranean region. Greeks believe that rosemary is effective in enhancing memory and brain function. Kind of see where I've been living lately, right? Traditionally, this plant also became famous as a symbol of fidelity, and it was once burned as incense at wedding parties throughout Europe. European judges also burned rosemary as incense to protect them from illnesses from prisoners who had illnesses that might, expose them. So they would burn that as incense, the rosemary, to kind of protect them from that. The active ingredient in rosemary is rosmarinic acid. This substance has been shown to suppress allergic responses and nasal congestion, which I found to be amazing. I am going to add rosemary to my allergy tincture. So the other health benefits of rosemary is improving mood and stress, strengthening the immune system, antibacterial potential. It soothes the stomach, it freshens the breath, stimulates blood flow, great as a pain reliever, inflammatory, a detoxifier, and it helps in anti-aging. So that is why that one is also in my top 3. What a great question. That was probably the hardest question I had. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of your amazing questions. I hope my answers provided some insight and inspiration to you. Remember, whether it's about cooking, creating content, or navigating life's challenges, we are all in this together. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And I would love to hear from you. What is your favorite way to incorporate vegetables into your meals? That would be helpful to some of our viewers. Or do you have any tips on staying motivated in your creative journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay inspired, be blessed, and remember that you are loved. Bye!